The numbers are out, and they are painting a very sobering picture of our financial system. In 2024, Nigerian banks, fintechs, and capital market operators flagged over 82,000 suspicious transactions to the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit. Add to that over 25 million currency transaction reports and thousands of suspicious activity alerts in a single year. While this proves our regulatory tripwires are actively working to catch money laundering and illicit financing, it raises a critical question. When this massive volume of questionable capital moves through our system, how does it actually distort the real economy? This morning, we are unpacking the implications of suspicious transactions on the economy. Joining me to dissect these numbers and what they mean for the market is Mr. Anitche Ndudim Rowland, financial analyst and CEO, Rugon Capital Limited. I am Cherry Ojukwu, and this is the Eastern Business Report. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right, so Mr. Rowland, over 82,000 suspicious transactions flagged in a single year is a staggering number, but context is everything. Does this massive figure indicate that financial crime is aggressively spiking, or does it simply mean our reporting entities are finally waking up and doing their job?
Okay, the NFIU unit was established in 2004, and it was mandatory for banks to report suspicious cash transaction reports, suspicious transaction reports, and there's a threshold way back 2004. For individuals, it's 1 million naira and above. For corporate entities, it's 5 million naira and above. That is for suspicious transactions. Same also for cash transactions. And if you look at it, 2004 to date we're talking about 22 years difference. And the exchange rate as of 2004 was 133 naira to the dollar. Presently, it's about 8,004. This is over 900% increase. And back then, the budgets of the country was in billions and billions of naira. Currently, we're down doing almost 10 trillion. So you could see there's a big gap. So almost every Nigerian has over 1 million naira or 5 million, or corporate entity has over 5 million naira to transact. So you will see a spike because there's an increase in money supply in the country. Now, the question about distorting the economy, yes, they are. Because back then, what we had then was illicit financing, terrorism, and narcotics trafficking. These were two. Currently, we now have banditry, which is another big industry in this country. And so and we know ransom for kidnapping is being paid by cash. So that's an area where the NFIU should turn its attention towards narrowing or addressing this scourge. It's big. Same also for others. For Islamic terrorism and narcotics is strong. But you also have another emerging effect about banditry. Now, all the whole banks are all connected to the NFIU, and the more transactions are going on, it's going to be an increase because there's a surge. Mind you, with your phone app, you can do a transfer of 10 million naira, 15 million naira, depending on your limit. So it will continue to raise flags. The question now is, how actionable are they, or how are they going to be treated? It's even more interesting now. From your bank, you can transfer money to microfinance banks, money points and all that. So you could see it's large. You also have another area again, which is digital coins, what you call crypto assets. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of volume in that aspect. We don't know if NFIU has updated their systems to capture transactions on the blockchain. Mm-hmm. So you will now see an interesting figure coming up on board. But the question now is, how actionable are they? How have they traced the illicit transactions that really distorted the economy? These are the issues. What we are currently facing right now which is on board right now, is kidnapping for ransom, which has really dealt a big blow to the Nigerian economy. When it comes to means of transportation along the roads or kidnapping within the Northeast and Northwest. So it's huge. And so the NFI, I think they should really be ahead of the curve and ensure how they can make the entire financial system safe-proof, ensure soundness in the economy, and at least give a guarantee that, okay, the economy is healthy. So the question now is, you will continue to see this report. It's a standard reporting event. And I don't see it coming down with the increase in money supply in the country. So these are the issues.
So it's less about sudden crime wave and more about tightening our regulatory tripwires.
Exactly.
Okay. So the NFIU also noted over 25 million standard currency transactions reports. There is often confusion between what's just a large transaction and what is suspicious. So at what point does a legitimate high-value cash movement cross the line and trigger a suspicious activity report in today's banking environment?
Currently, like for foreign currencies, 10,000 and above by individuals, it's a flag. $10,000 on a daily basis, per day, it raises a flag. For corporate individuals, I don't know the exact amount right now. I can't really say currently. But you have, depending on what businesses you're into, that's one. Two, for companies doing into export and export, you could see there's a legitimacy in it. But then also, there's also the case of foreign inflows coming in from across the country. What is the purpose? Even the banks themselves will naturally report it because it's an obligation. There's even a heavy fine for banks not reporting it. The question is, when they report, how actionable is it? Because what they do is they look at the sender and the receiver. Is it a legitimate business? What is it? What is the purpose? You understand? You can imagine maybe I'm into mining and I've sold maybe 30 tons of iron ore to my suppliers outside the country. When the money comes in, it comes in millions of, 500, 600, 700, $1 million. It comes in. So it will raise a flag. So the question is it a legitimate business or not? You also are aware of during the Buhari era where UAE sent the country list of Nigerians that were involved in money laundering, illicit money laundering for terrorism. What did they do with it? So these are the issues. So it behoves on the regulatory authorities to do their diligence, work on it. How actionable are those reports? How actionable are those transfers? Is it to build the economy or is it to undermine the economy? So these are the issues.
Now, okay, so the understanding that threshold is critical, especially in a cash-heavy regional economy like the Southeast.
Yeah.
So we cannot ignore the elephant in the room, fintech. Digital banks and POS agents have democratized finance, but they have also democratized illicit money movement. Are our current anti-money laundering frameworks robust enough to police these agile fintech platforms, or are they still weakest, or are they still the weakest link in the chain?
For money payment service, they also, because they are registered, they are regulated by central bank and they're given licenses to operate, they also have anti-money laundering laws to follow strictly. And they also have their reporting. So it's mandatory. So the question is, a lot of Nigerians we're talking about 200 million Nigerians with almost 50 million Nigerians transacting on a daily basis. So the question is, it's a huge data that is being churned out. With a trust, we're talking about 1 millionaire for individuals and 5 millionaire for companies. So it's a huge data that is being spawned out. The question is the manpower to actually track which one is illicit. That's where the issue is.
Wow. Okay, so to wrap this up, Mr. Rowland, looking at the year ahead, what is the single most urgent reform the CBN and NFIU must implement in order to ensure that our financial system stops being a safe haven for illicit, wealth?
My big concern is the ransom for kidnapping, which is a thriving industry and it is cash-based. We should zero in on that very well and address it so that it is nipped in the bud. That is the biggest headache we are facing right now and a scourge in the country. So that we can have a safe country within ourselves, within our borders, because that is what is actually threatening this country, not across the entire country. So I think that's where my biggest concern should ease right now, because kidnapping is cash-based. Even when they do even when they do transfers, the people reporting or the victims that have gone to report, there's a trail. So this is where our security agencies should come up, raise the bar, and address it as quickly as possible.
Wow. All right. So this has been a very perfect note to end with, this whole segment. And then thank you, sir, again, for the very deep insights this morning. And that's very much that we can take. Thank you so much. The Eastern Business Report returns tomorrow. Thank you for staying with us. My name is Sherry Ojuku, and next up is Afia. Bye for now.